This episode is brought to you by Pepsi Wild Cherry. Pepsi Wild Cherry is bursting with delicious cherry flavor and a sweet, crisp taste that gives you more to go wild for. Getting wild may look different these days, but whether it's opting for a solo Friday binge watch or a big night out, everyone can indulge in their wild side with Pepsi Wild Cherry. Also available in Zero Sugar. So grab a Pepsi Wild Cherry and get wild.
TIAA is on a mission. Why? Because 54% of Black Americans don't have enough savings to retire. So in collaboration with big-name artists like Wyclef Jean, TIAA released Paper Right, new music inspiring a new financial future. With 100% of streaming sales going to a nonprofit that teaches students how to invest. Stream Paper Right now and help close the gap.
Introducing Royal Caribbean's newest ship, Icon of the Seas, the ultimate family vacation. The ultimate 6 slides, 8 neighborhoods, 0 compromise vacation. The ultimate never done that, can't wait to do it vacation. The ultimate chillin' by a different pool every day of the week vacation. This is the Icon of Vacations. Icon of the Seas, arriving in 2024. Book today. Come seek the Royal Caribbean. Ships Registry, Bahamas.
Hey there, Duke fans. Welcome to episode 549 of the Duke Basketball Roundup. We are here. This is going to be an interesting episode. It's going to be one that you're going to want to listen to. It's going to be one that we've kind of been putting to the side for a few months now, but now it is time to actually have it. I am your host for this episode, but I'm not really going to be talking much on this episode. My name is Donald Wine. I have Jason Evans and Sam Klein alongside me. Just for everyone's transparency, we are recording this right after 548, which was an awesome episode. You should definitely listen to that, but you also want to listen to this one for different reasons. And so I'm just going to begin by handing the floor to Sam Klein. Sam, you're the man. Take it away.
Thank you, Donald. I'll cut right to the chase. This is going to be my last episode as a regular contributor to the DBR Podcast. Before I bid Jason and Donald, as well as all of you, the listeners, I guess a not permanent farewell, but somewhat of a farewell, would you allow me to indulge in a bit of reflection?
Oh, my God, yes. Please do. Please tell everyone why you're leaving the greatest gig in Duke fandom. All
right. Relax. So in the fall of 2014, Duke basketball was in a weird place. All the players who had won the program's last national championship, not to mention been to its last Final Four in 2010, were gone. In their place, the one-and-done era had begun with the sadly brief emergence of Kyrie Irving the year after that championship run, subsequent seasons highlighted by stars like Austin Rivers and Jabari Parker, who contributed a lot to the highlight reels, but not necessarily to the program's NCAA tournament win total. In fact, the only team during that period from 2010 to 2015 between the championships that even sniffed the Final Four was 2013, a team that was led by veteran stars like Mason Plumlee, Ryan Kelly, and Seth Curry. A lot of fans were wondering, was this recent one-and-done trend that Mike Krzyzewski had fully embraced become a doom loop for the program, filling us with excitement each year for the crop of new freshmen, only to see them succumb to injury or heartbreak while the team fails to live up to seeding expectations? If the 2015 team delivered another sugar rush and crash, what would we think about the latest and maybe last stage of the Coach K era? In the fall of 2014, Sam Klein, was in a weird place. I had just been laid off from my first job since I graduated from Duke, and I had grad school classes to occupy a bit of my time, but admittedly, I was lonely and somewhat unfocused. I needed a new distraction. I needed a new challenge. I had been a moderator on the DBR forum for not very long prior to that, and I wondered if I could turn that into something new. In the fall of 2014, podcast coverage of Duke basketball wasn't in a weird place as much as it was nowhere. Podcasts that had covered Duke in the ACC in the early days of podcasting had gone off the air, and that had left a void that I thought that I somehow, and more importantly, the DBR brand could fill. I asked the other moderators, none of whom I had ever met, whether any of them would like to start a podcast under the DBR. Jason Evans and Blazin' DW quickly volunteered. I knew nothing about either of these people except what they revealed in their DBR profiles. And if you're not on the forums, you wouldn't have known them at all. Jason, as far as I knew, was a poker player from Atlanta. And Blazin', that's Donald, was a lawyer and soccer fan in Washington, D.C. That's all I had. Donald, I think, might have had some Detroit Lions stuff on his profile, but that was it. We met over a conference call.
You knew that I talked a lot on the DBR forums.
Yes. Prolific, perhaps. So we met on a conference call to talk about logistics. Just you two
pre-Zoom. This is pre-Zoom.
Yeah, pre-Zoom, man, the Uber conference era. We asked a few basic questions like, how do you even make a podcast? What would we talk about? And does DBR need this? The answers to all of those questions fell into place for us over the next few months.
Wait. Sam, the answers to all those were, we don't know.
We don't know. The how do you make a podcast was a particularly tricky one. Now it's actually very easy. Now there's a million tutorials about it. But in 2014, the internet was different. The first big game that we talked about was Duke's win at Wisconsin in the ACC Big Ten Challenge that year. A game that everybody somehow forgot by the time we made it to April and Duke was playing Wisconsin again in the national championship. That season, we interviewed journalists who covered Duke. And all the meanwhile, I was looking for a day job while making time to get online and talk about Duke with these two strangers. I wasn't really telling people yet that I was doing this, because how do you admit that the way that you're spending all of this free time is just talking about sports on the internet for no money and with strangers? That spring, Duke went on their championship run. We had an amazing time chronicling the whole thing on this program. I recorded one episode from a Hooters parking lot in Arizona. You'd have to go back and listen to it. It made a lot of sense at the time. I went to the national championship game with friends. We bought nosebleed tickets. They were so far away that I was mostly watching the game on the screen as opposed to what was going on the court. But I was very excited to tell everybody online about it the next day, slumped in a chair at the Kansas City airport on my flight back to Denver. At the end of the season, I had gotten a job, actually back where I had been working prior to my layoff. But the show just kept on going. We interviewed former players like Shane Battier and Nolan Smith that summer. Over the years, we came up with new traditions like the player of the game, the stats game, the listener mailbag. Duke didn't make another Final Four run until 2022, the year that Coach K retired. But the show continued on through some very exciting but mostly heartbreaking tournament exits. I was back at Duke in the summer of 2018 for business school. This wasn't really motivated by anything related to the podcast, but it did offer us, all three of us, more in-person opportunities to cover the team. It also spurred us to take our role as Duke Media a bit more seriously, which has gotten us access to press row and to the locker room after the games. And hopefully it's given the DBR listeners a little bit more access to the team because we've been there to cover it and bring you those conversations on the show. After I graduated, I moved to Boston for a new job that, frankly, has been fairly demanding and something that I think I'm now struggling to be the best version of podcast co-host and day job me that I can, which is really why we're having to listen to my longest speech, I think, on this program that was done completely sober. So I began thinking actually a few years ago that as much as I enjoy this whole endeavor, I think I've scratched the itch that I first felt in 2014. I think that Coach K's retirement actually pushed my DBR retirement back because if you know me in real life, you know that I'm always trying to be the most honest and authentic version of myself, and I would not have felt good about looking like a shameless front runner if I bailed at the same time as Coach K on Duke. Was I not willing to dive headfirst into the post-Coach K era, an era that I admitted many times I was nervous about because John Shire, who's somebody that I knew who I was in college, was taking over the team from the man who had been the coach for almost 10 years prior to when I was born. No. I had to see it through for at least a year. I can honestly say now, here at the end of October 2023, I feel a lot more confident about the future of Duke basketball than I did in October 2022, when I really had no idea how well John Shire would handle his new job. I think he's great, by the way. And I hope that his successor hasn't been born yet, because it means that he's got plenty of years, just like Coach K, in this seat. Before I go, I do want to thank a few people for supporting me and the show along the way. My dad, first of all, who I've probably mentioned more than any other single person on this show who isn't connected to the program, inspired my love for Duke, and he's probably the main reason that I went to college there. If you like my presentation style on the show, it is due in large part to my learning how to speak and use the English language from Fred Klein. So thanks to him, and I assure you he's a lot funnier than I am. The DBR leadership, including the Kings, the rest of the moderator team, and various writers have been great partners to us here on the DBR podcast. We've had a few of those folks on the show to talk hoops and to talk football, guys like Bob Green and Jim Sumner. I think I might be forgetting a couple others as well. DBR has undergone a lot of changes since I started reading the site, which was around 2008. But the core community here has remained strong, even as the internet has changed around it. Our original sponsors, Jamie Campbell and Tucker Bird, proved in their small way that people were interested in paying for this bit of entertainment. And they also forced us, the hosts and the listeners, to grapple existentially with what it meant to be a Duke-centric law firm. Were they just visionaries or playful friends? Who could say? I need to thank the listeners who email us with headlines and ideas that are indispensable. A few of them who I know and a few who are frequent, the K-Man, Buzz, Jim B, Wilco, too many of them to name, and not only folks who I haven't met, but also some actual friends from my time at Duke and elsewhere. A few of the names that I captured, and I'm sure I left a few out: Jaffe, Vivek, Nick, Kira, Brett, Melissa, Shane, just to name a few. I've even met some of the listeners in the wild at alumni events and coordinated meetups. I've had some great interactions with listeners of this show going all the way back to 2015. I'm always thrilled to meet all of you and find out all the things you would never email us directly, but are happy to share in a social setting, usually over beers. Thank you, all of you, for sticking around with the show, whether you found us 2 months ago or way back in 2014. It has been really cool to help build the DBR community through a whole new medium. Finally, I would like to thank Jason and Donald. I will claim that I brought the spark for this program, but these two really brought the kindling. Jason, with his media experience and willingness to try new segments and ideas, has always been eager to bring actual analysis to the show, not to mention the experience of someone who's been all in on Duke since before I was born. I don't know how many times I can make that joke without getting over it. So Jason has edited at least half of the episodes that we've put out while watching his sons finish college. And his wife hasn't shut us down, despite all the strange hours that we've been forced to record over the years.
Shout out to Kathy.
He has a nearly boundless energy for Duke basketball, and we would not have made it this far without him. I also owe him a big one for writing one of my letters of recommendation to go to Duke for my MBA. So Jason,
I'm sure that's why you got in.
Definitely. Donald Wine. My observation about Donald Wine is that he seems to know everybody related to the Duke community. And when Donald isn't attending Duke games or Duke events, he's obviously also someone who knows everybody involved in U.S. soccer. Two huge communities, global communities. He's a big supporter of a number of teams, both good and bad, because Donald is a Duke basketball fan, and he's also a passionate Detroit Lions fan. And I also know that he's a big supporter of a number of causes in the DC area. And I admire the way that Donald carries himself around the city, a city that is not his own, but which he has adopted with great enthusiasm. He might be the most popular, but simultaneously anonymous person that I know. Donald can talk sports fashion, a topic that I am passionate about, but also very stupid about. So I appreciate having him here for that. He is a loyal and decisive friend, and we would not have made it this far on the DBR without him. I cherish the time I've spent with both of you guys, and I am confident that you will bring the listeners fun and insightful Duke basketball thoughts for a long time. Who knows? You might even find another wannabe hippie to take my place someday. I won't be going far. I'm not moving away or anything. I have told Jason and Donald that I will still run the stats game. So I have committed to make at least 2 appearances a year on this program. You can definitely still reach me at dbrpodcast@gmail.com. And if you really want to talk rocket science, management consulting, skiing, regional American accents, or most importantly, bluegrass music, you can find me on LinkedIn or on Instagram. I'm not that hard to find. If you ever see a Duke helmet on the ski slopes or a Washington Nationals bucket hat at a music festival, please say hi. If you do that, I will tell you all about how I came to love Grievous Vasquez and how Nolan Smith might have saved my life one time. So
that's a tease.
But you have to find me in the wild for it. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for an incredible time here with the DBR. I will now take questions.
Sam, there's no way to say thank you enough for A, like you said, for sort of initiating all of this, but B, for being a friend. I mean, the thing about this that I sometimes say to people, and that is still the most remarkable thing to me, the second most remarkable thing to me is the fact that there are thousands of people who listen to this every time we put one of these out, which is just crazy. But the most remarkable thing to me is that 2 guys that I did not know at all, I knew them by screen names on a forum, have become good friends of mine. We've all spent time with each other now in real life. I have no question that if I was in the city that you guys were in on a given night, that we would not only hang out, but probably, share, not literally share hotel room, but, hang out at each other's house, whatever. You get the,
we've all been,
we have,
yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Right? You both came to my apartment in Durham.
Yep.
And I've been to both of your houses. So,
yep. Yeah. About Sam specifically, he has always, far and away, been the most witty and clever member of this team. I sometimes I'll listen to episodes that just have me and Donald on them, and I'll be like, there's just no humor. We're just not funny compared to Sam. Sam is able to make me and the audience howl with laughter with just a word or two, sometimes with just, a raised eyebrow. And it's not just a function.
People don't see that.
Right. That's true. And I have to suppress those.
I get that from my dad too.
Yeah. I mute sometimes so that I'm not heard laughing out loud at some of the stuff Sam has done. And it's just invaluable to be able to do that. And by the way, it's worth noting that he doesn't just do it. It's not just funny. It's that it's smart. Like, Sam's jokes are always really smart. And he is justifiably, you mentioned this sort of, Sam, he's the most cautious of the 3 of us. Like when we do our picks of, how many games is Duke going to win this year? Donald and I are both like 37, 39. Sam's like 28. And usually Duke is pretty close to 28. So it's essential to have Sam. And Sam, you're the one who is most cautious about John Shire. You mentioned it already. It's essential to have a voice like yours as a part of all this. And the last thing I wanted to mention was, dude, I still remember the day you pulled out, was it a ukulele, mandolin? What was it? What instrument?
Yeah, I've got I moved the view in my camera. You can now see. I now have 2 mandolins, but I've got one on the wall back there. So
yeah, the day you pulled out the mandolin and began playing, I was like, how can this guy also be talented in this way? Devil in Blue Dress, I think you played. I forget. It was awesome. One of the great moments for me was just like, oh my God, watching you do that. It has been an unbelievable treat to be on this journey with you. 9 years we've been on it together now, coming up on 10. And the last thing I want to say is that, as you alluded to, Sam, you may be leaving as a regular, but you're not going to be gone. I won't allow that to happen. Not like I have any control over it, but we're really hoping that
you are very convincing via group chat.
There you go. We're hoping that anytime you get the bug, anytime there's something you really want to say, the floor will be open and you will be allowed to say it. And we're hoping that, I know you're going to do the stats game with us, and I hope that there will be other times that we can have you do stuff with us.
Yeah, for me, you mentioned the first episode that we did, or the first time we met, was via Uber conference. People have to remember, Uber conference didn't have a video thing until like 2016. So it took us I don't know, maybe 50 episodes or so before we even knew what each other looked like. That was an incredible time where, we didn't have, there was times where, Sam again recorded from my apartment. I recorded with Jason in Atlanta, but the 3 of us did not meet until episode 70, where 3 of us were in the same room at the same time. It took almost 3 years for that to occur.
The first time we recorded together, where were we when we first recorded together?
We were in Durham.
Well, yeah, we did it at your apartment. Yeah, that was the time.
We did it at your apartment.
But if that was at my apartment, that was in 2019. That was 5 years in.
Yeah.
So
that was the first time all 3 of us were in the same room together. There were other times where we did some where there were 2 of us and one in another place, but that was the first time all 3 of us were together at the same time to record. I think I'm old. Wait, I'm old, so my memory fades.
We have established that we were all at the Chick-fil-A Bowl.
We were at the Chick-fil-A Bowl.
The only confirmed
separately.
You're right.
Thing that we were all at, but it was before we knew each other.
It was pre-podcast, but yeah,
Well, wait, hold on. We also did that podcast in the parking lot after the Duke Alabama football game.
That was in the fall of 2019. It was my second year of school.
Yeah.
So,
and that was, again, we've had some moments. I think, Jason, you mentioned the mandolin. I think the best thing is one that no one will ever get to listen to.
Oh,
it's the lost episode. It's the lost episode when we beat
Louisville episode.
And Sam is outside a bar, or he might have been inside the bar on 9th Street. And again, it was just 45 minutes of euphoria between the 3 of us. And we couldn't see him because he was on his phone, but you could just feel the joy. And that's what Sam always brought to these things, especially now, past times where we've had big moments in this podcast. Sam brings that joy, and that's what makes this place home, right? The 3 of us is home. So Sam, when you depart from this is your home. Feel free to come back anytime, kick your feet up. It's like going to college. You still have your room. Yeah, right. You still have your bedroom. Your bed may not be made up, but you always have a place with us. And
back at your parents. Don't go back to your college dorm room.
Don't go back to your college dorm. Don't do that.
That's not acceptable.
I can't even do that.
Don't do that.
Don't do that. I think my college dorm room isn't there. I think they've rebuilt
Yeah, mine's gone. So
I ain't walking into Bassett Dormitory and asking for my room back. That's
that'd
be inappropriate on a number of levels.
But with this place, Jason and I are gonna keep doing these regularly, and we're gonna have some guests come on, and no one is ever going to be Sam Klein, because Sam Klein is always gonna have a place in this house. And look, we've been talking about this team, how excited we are to watch this team this year. I hope we get to do that together. I hope when we win the national championship, that's the only time I'm going to demand that you come back. Like,
Fine.
That's going to be when you have to be back, because when we win this next national championship, the three of us got to celebrate it. And so from me to you, thank you for being a part of this, for making this creation a home away from home. And the fact that we get to do this 3-4 times a week sometimes during the season, it means a lot. So that's what I got for you.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate all those kind words. And like I said, I'm not disappearing.
You're gonna be back like this week.
You'll be back in a week. We're gonna do the stats game in like a week.
I know we have to do the stats game, and then I think I've already committed to going to the Arizona game and sitting on press row for you.
Yeah, if you sit on press row with our tickets, you got to be on the podcast.
I can't. I'm not going to be a jerk about it.
Hey, thanks for the ticket. Thanks for the press pass.
Hey, see you later.
So yes, you'll see Sam. You'll hear Sam's voice in the next coming weeks. We have the stat game coming up this weekend. As he mentioned, he's going to be at the Arizona game. And again, anytime that we can't go to a game and you're like, I need the press pass, take it. Because for us, we're like, that means we get to bring Sam back. Just for also, ladies and gentlemen, just for transparency, like Sam came to us with this decision
like 3 months ago.
Like it was in April. Because I was doing a podcast from Cancun for one of my best friend's weddings, and he made this announcement. It is now October 30th. So we've been able to keep him here for about 6 months. But as they say, all good things must at least come to a temporary end. And in the case of Sam Klein, it is a temporary end, because we will hear from him over the coming weeks and months, but just not on the regular basis that you all out there are used to, or that the three of us are used to. So Sam, we will let you end it on this show. Take us out, man. Last words.
You can email us and me at DBRPodcast@gmail.com. You can shop at Homefield and buy stuff. You don't have to shop at Homefield. You can shop anywhere. I just noticed on the Ebbets Field website that all the Duke hats have been replenished in the Ebbets Field store. So I'm going to go spend a little bit of money like right now doing that. I just ordered a ton of New Era stuff, which are now available on Fanatics, which is another place you can shop. You can shop on Fanatics. But there's some Duke New Era hats are back, and they're looking nice. And I think I got a couple coming either today or tomorrow in the mail. I'm here for you for that, Donald. So stay in touch with us. Stay in touch with these guys. I'll stay in touch with them. Do all that stuff. And I don't know. Keep loving Duke. Duke's a cool place. So keep it up. Thank you guys. Duke Band, take us home.